Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the LCO. It is time for some Mammoth hashtag Tusks Up versus Legacy hashtag Tree Gang. You know, spam him in chat, 1s and 2s, Fs, etc. You know, spam whatever you want, really, because Jordan likes spam. It's his favorite meat, and he's very much excited to get into today's matchup.
I don't think I've ever actually eaten spam, unless do you get it in hot pots when you go to like a Korean restaurant? That's probably the only time I've ever actually eaten spam. I feel like you get it there.
I don't know. I've never had it either, but I think that's for the best. Anyway, let's get into the game rather than our eating habits or lack thereof. Now, moving forward, we are going to be talking Legacy first, and Legacy have been looking extremely good, at least yesterday. And in a lot of other matchups, they've been looking great, but unfortunately haven't converted that looking great into wins other than yesterday. Look, I'll put that out there.
You are right. They have been looking extremely good since yesterday. So there is a little bit to break down there, I suppose. They were on a 5-game loss streak for those that haven't been watching LCR, but yesterday they did finally break that. And it was against Order, a team that, you know, we have a reasonable degree of respect for. We felt like actually Order came into that one as the favorites, but there was a few standout players in that roster for Legacy yesterday, and one of them was ML. Incursio as well, I think, deserves a shout out. So both of those guys I felt like really stepped up for Legacy, and finally they were able to convert those early game strengths into an actual mid-game that kind of functioned, where they finally got over the line, they finally got themselves a win, and hopefully it's the start of something beautiful for Legacy, because I could see them being a team that can contest for a top 5 placing if they can kind of put all of their ducks in a row and get everything sorted.
How many ducks do you need in a row, though? Like, what's
5.
the preferred amount of ducks? 5 ducks. Because Jess keeps
minimum
trying to
of 8,
talk
I would
me
imagine, to make playoffs.
into getting a duck, and I just keep thinking it's a bad idea because we don't live near a pond. That's a whole different can of worms. Anyway, moving forward, let's have a quick chat about Mammoth and how they're doing, because there's been a couple of games where they've played like really well, and we've really loved what we've seen from them. Respect the neck as always drop that hashtag as well. But unfortunately for them, similar situation to Legacy, have only converted 1 win so far. So Rusty, tell me why.
Ain't nothing but a heartache. Mammoth are a team that have a lot of subs. Sorry, I had to. You really set that one up. They've got 2 subs coming today. First and foremost, Buggy and Kanade. Both Kanade and Shinky, rather, are friends of Drag, who, as we heard in the interview yesterday, they're both been getting soft coached by him as well. What I mean by this is they probably do have a lot of similarities, so I think it's just getting stage time as to why we might be seeing one over the other. But Mammoth are just not refined, right? They are a new team. They're a young team. There's definitely just a bunch of young players in there. Mechanically, there's some moments of potential that you see from them. This was the one game they were able to win through a bit of a draft gap, but they still played the game out very nicely. And a lot of Mammoth to me is about junglers. We've seen a lot of their strength be about their junglers, and Wei in particular, and I think that we just need to see them lift today.
Well, hopefully lifting is something that they can do, as well as me and yourself, Rusty. Wouldn't be looking towards Jordan if we're thinking about lifting. But either way, let's have a quick look at what Mammoth have in store for us, because they have, again, provided the content.
We're versing Legacy. I believe a lot of their experience comes from their top side, as well as their bot lane, but they do have a few flaws that we will be able to abuse here today.
I really need to get my payback for Stard betraying me. He was originally going to be potentially playing for us, and he decided to ditch the boys, so I'm going to have to put him in his place.
Sybil's one of the veterans here in the league, but I believe as well Incursio is one of the amateur players that have come through from the solo queue ladder.
I mean, he's Katarina one trick. He can't really play anything else, so it should be pretty easy to win.
I feel quite confident against this team here today. Me and Wei are a better mid-jungle duo, and we'll be able to show that here.
Well, what do you know? Styled is a rat. Let's see if he plays some Twitch today to really shut Mammoth up, or if that's going to happen or not. Anyway, moving forward, Mammoth, they've been looking pretty good, and they seem to think that they can take the dub today against Legacy. They sound like they've done their work, and they know what they have to do to win.
They can, right? It's so hard to actually look at both of these teams and say who's coming in as the favorite because, like, yes, yesterday looked good for Legacy, but even in speaking to Order, there was a significant draft issue that they ran into where Legacy made small correct choices and the game kind of just ends from that alone, from just draft alone. Mammoth on the other side are so wildly inconsistent that it's like, I actually don't know who to say would be a favorite coming into this.
Well, it's the saying, you know, inconsistency is key.
Maybe if you have Incursio on the roster, I guess that kind of goes hand in hand, doesn't it?
Ooh. Oh, shots fired left, right, and center right now.
I was
Jordan.
just talking about the name sounds the same, but anyway, if you guys want to take it that way, that's fine.
Oh,
Can't believe you call him Incursio like that.
I cannot believe.
Incursio, is that what you just said?
That's what you said, right?
That's,
No, but I mean, it is kind of true sometimes.
It sounded like it's what you said, Jordan. You did call him Intercursio. Hey, Nat,
He'll take it.
are you
I'm
down on
sure.
the sidelines?
I hope I am.
Oh, there you are. Good. Okay. Do you have Incursio, and can you get the spelling of his name, even if he's not on the interview?
I don't have Incursio, but I can ask him, and if I can ask him maybe one day if we ever get to see him on another I say that like I'm never gonna interview
Yeah,
him
well,
again.
look,
but-
after the way that these guys have treated him, I don't expect him to come back,
No,
honestly.
the int in Incursio just stands for interview man.
Yeah, well,
That's fine.
he's had some pretty good
Yes.
interviews.
He has. I mean, he speaks his mind. I'm not gonna lie. He's been a bit
does.
of a treat to interview sometimes.
Yeah, well, speaking of Incursio, let's have a look at the head-to-head between him and Wei at mid, because this is where we're going to see a whole lot of action. Wei, of course, one of the star performers for Mammoth, and Incursio, you can say the same for Legacy.
There was also the person that, when asking other players in the league about Mammoth, they would often say that Wei is the person who has the most potential in this roster. He was also the man who hit the most rad backdoor that we've seen in the LCO so far. So looking at how these players match up, there is actually some crossover in terms of their style. And you can actually see that reflected in their most picked. You know, the Yasuo being there, the Yone on the other side. It could mean that Wei is equipped to handle some of the solo queue-esque style that annoys Juves that Incursio is very good at.
And a stat that I want to quickly point out as well, because Parbu actually atted it on Twitter yesterday and said, how dumb is this stat? Average damage to objectives, which he thought meant all objectives, including Dragons and Baron, etc., because Baron's got a lot of HP. But it is just structures as far as I'm aware, so I will go double check that one, because if you're only doing an average of 7k damage to Baron and objectives, I'm sure that's not looking too good for you.
Not at all.
Well, towards the match, we're not quite there for the interviews, but we have to put our money where our mouths are, as per usual. So let's quickly do our predictions. And I think we may be split down the middle. So let's quickly go to you, Jordan boy, guy, elf man. You said
Come
you
on,
would
man.
never, ever predict Legacy again.
Yes, so after the first 2 weeks, I predicted Legacy in both, first 2 days, I should say. I predicted Legacy in both of those games, and they lost both of them. And then I swore off Legacy for the rest of the season. But then I looked at my score. I looked at 20-7, and then I looked at Nat's score, which was 21-6, and I thought, I really can't afford to lose another prediction at this point. I actually do need to catch back up. This is kind of getting to be a bit more of a meme than I wanted it to be. So I had to go for the Legacy predictions today. Hopefully they don't let me down. Otherwise, this time, if they do let me down, I'm double swearing off Legacy, and I really won't break that promise.
Ooh, double swears. You never want to double swear. Speaking of double, I think we have the double interview ready. So, Nat, you want to swing us into that one?
Yeah, I mean, I'm lucky. We were just talking about him, Wei, and I've been lucky enough to be joined by him and styled. Hey, guys, I want to start with you, Wei. You know, unfortunately, you guys had to forfeit yesterday. How's the mood in the team then coming off the back of that?
Well, obviously everyone's like a bit disappointed, right? Everyone like wants to play. No one like wants to forfeit any game, like no matter what your opponent is. But obviously, like we're not gonna give any of our teammates a bad time, like about it, because they're gonna be beating themselves up already. So we're just gonna try to focus up today and hopefully get the dub.
course, everyone's aiming for that win. Speaking of wins, though, Styled Legacy got their first win yesterday. How is that feeling for you guys, especially coming to the end of the first round?
Yeah, it felt pretty good. It felt like it was long due because like I think we could have won a couple of games before, or we should have won a couple of games before. But yeah, it feels really good, and we're pretty happy about it. But we gotta look forward still because I think we can take more games still.
I think you guys have a lot of potential for sure. What was the prep that went into the game against Mammoth, and how are you guys looking to, like, you know, come off the back of another win?
Pretty sure we know they play around mid jungle mainly, because I think like Wei is probably the best player. But yeah, I think they just play around mid jungle, so we just know that we can play around that.
And for you, Wei, what is Mammoth's you know, hopes and goals, and how are you guys gonna, you know, make this into a win, and what prep have you done for that?
I mean, obviously we're just gonna ban Katarina, and we're gonna win mid 2v2. Just that simple.
That easy. Wow, what a recipe for success. I do have to ask, in the little content piece, you guys talked about how Styled was potentially gonna be joining you guys on Mammoth, but he ended up dodging that one and went over to Legacy. So does that add more pressure onto this game, or are you just like, let me get in, let me at him?
I mean, I'd love to just crush him. Like, there's absolutely no way you can dog the boys like that and not expect to get an L. So,
I mean, somewhat, but like I wasn't gonna play. I was gonna like help them out in the scene. I was just like, but yeah, I still dogged them, I guess.
heck you, Gian.
I mean, I'm sure you're also looking for a win and potentially crushing them back. But guys, it's going to be a very interesting matchup. I'll let you go and get ready to jump in. But thank you both so much for joining me, and good luck.
Thank you.
There you have it. Nice little interview and some potential banter, some potential flames. And then it sort of just halted when Style was like, yeah, look, I guess I dogged you. Sorry. And everyone was like, oh, yeah, no worries. All right, well, ready for the game.
That's right. I mean, like, it's interesting to... that was the first time I heard that, right? That Styled was potentially over on Mammoth. So it makes this matchup, the fact that they're both, I guess, bottom of the ladder, interesting. But now the fact that he could have been on that team, 10 times more interesting, for sure.
Yeah, and look, I guess that's something about this matchup as well, is one of these teams is finally going to get to 2-6 or, you know, 1-7 after this one. So it's certainly going to look a lot better for them. They won't be tied 3 ways at the bottom of the ladder. And I guess, you know, going into the second round of these matches, that's really where you want to be.
Yes. You want to be not tied at the bottom of the ladder. Absolutely true. That every win puts you one win higher on the ladder. That's all facts.
Look, I mean, Mac is the god analyst. Look, he has never said anything incorrect on the desk.
I'm a thinker. See this forehead? There is a brain under here. Probably a lot of bone, and like I think that the brain's kind of small. And at least I think it might be wrinkly. Look, it may be due to age, not due to smartness. Not like Jube's level of wrinkles. But look, I really like Jube's wrinkles. And on that note, Nat and I are going to skedaddle out of here. It's time for you guys to save this segment and take us into the final game of the day.
Don't know if it's possible at this point, Rusty, but we'll try our best as we do head into the champion select for final game of today. It's not the final game of the week, though. Lucky for everyone. There's a few more matches on Friday. But Mammoth and Legacy Esports definitely looking to be the ones not right at the bottom of the standings as we head into round 2 of the split. Rusty, I did have a question for you regarding this Katarina ban away. I mean, does it even feel like it's worth it at this point, right? Because I think earlier on in the season, we had this implication maybe that Incursio was, yes, a Katarina one-trick in solo queue and therefore wouldn't really be able to transition any other champions into competitive modes. But based on what we've seen so far, it doesn't really feel like you can ban away Incursio. You know, he's going to get a good champion. He's had good performances on a lot of different options. So is it still worth the Katarina ban?
I'm hearing you. Everything you're saying. It's still worth banning the Katarina because he is still a one-trick, right? Okay. While he is performing fine on these other champions, why risk it? You know, the example has already been proven in the LCO. They've given it once. It almost won in a massive upset against the best team in the league, against PGG. So just considering that, the rest of the league will look at that and say, well, that's just a risk, you know? Do we give Gravitas Fiddlesticks Nocturne when it's been proven to be very successful against top teams and push them to their limits, such as Peace? Probably not. I think that's a similar conversation.
Yeah, definitely is. Anyway, we do have a couple of comfort picks still open for Incursio, but we'll get to that when we get to that. Again, it's going to be the Hecarim Lilia mirror matchup. We've seen it so many times. Interestingly, though, in this instance, Hecarim was the first selection. Normally, he's the counter pick to Lilia, so Legacy have just decided they want Lilia anyway.
I think this is more of a champion pool thing for Sybil. You know, Elise has been banned away. Viego not available, which is one of the other champions that he does play. Lilia seems to be his comfort zone when both of those are gone. So they could just pick the Hecarim knowing that it's good into the matchup anyway, and they know Sybil's going to be picking that Lilia. And alongside this, of course, we're getting a lot of bot lane priority, but Thresh gone, Zaya Rakan locked in against the Rel. We're actually getting a lot of similarities to last game in terms of draft.
Yeah, most definitely. Zaya Rakan, Hecarim all cropping up, as is generally the case these days. Kai'Sa locked in, again, a very, very safe selection. So doesn't really feel like there's a whole lot different to comment on out of this champion select than many of the previous champion selects we've got from LCO. Everything is standard fare so far. Waiting for the second round of bans here as well.
Yeah, so far. That's the thing, right? Like, you have to take stock of who our mid laners are. We probably won't get your most conventional answers right now. If Zoe's gone, Yone's taken off the board as well. Katarina obviously already removed. Seraphine gone. What else actually exists for these guys to play is probably the question that we should be looking at right now. Because, you know, it's possible that we get the Tristana mid lane or a Yasuo mid lane now that the pool is being limited.
Yeah, it does keep slimmer and slimmer amounts of options open for Legacy here. I mean, Silas is still on the board. Is that something
you know
that
what
we're
I want?
likely to see?
I want Zed Talon. Just go for it. Go at it.
I mean, what about Yasuo? Like, Wei had a sick game on Yasuo when he got it, and that's still available.
You would want to see... So the problem is they're on blue side, and I would expect a top laner here. So blind picking the Yasuo does open you up to a lot of risk, and Incursio being an assassin player probably has the champions for it. You've got a Rakan to set you up a little bit. You've also got Hecarim, whose dash does count as a knock-up, whose E in particular counts as a knock-up, so it's possible. But I think I would rather a standard mage in mid for their comp to make sense. Or they'd have to play like a Rumble top lane, you know?
Ooh, that's interesting. Cassiopeia. So I don't mind that one. Something a little bit different. Throw a fair bit of magic damage in the mix, which is exactly what Mammoth needed. Head scratcher maybe for Legacy as to what they're going to do against this one.
If they lock this, I might change my predictions.
It's not happening.
No, it's definitely not happening. You could pick whatever you'd like, realistically, there as well. He sees the Nam matchup. We've spoken about this a lot. Gangplank is good into it. You know, if you're an Aurelia player, go for it, etc., etc. He picks his comfort counter into the Nah with the Gangplank. They've got magic damage in mid, and this is, you know, the most crucial part of this draft is what's about to be picked by Incursio and how it influences mid.
Oh! He's actually done it to him. He's actually done it to him. He's picked the Yasuo against Wei. I like it. You know, you've already got the magic damage coming through from your jungler on Lilia. So leaves the door open for the Yasuo selection. There's enablers, Nah, you've got Rel. So this is going to be an exciting game.
Yeah, it definitely is. We probably do have to look at that lane first before anything else. The one thing that I'm not sure about is how Rel's ultimate interacts with Yasuo's ultimate. Like, is it an actively usable ult that you could like just constantly ult whenever you want? Or is it only the activation? Does that count? Is it like even possible to react to that? Because what you always look at with Yasuo, right, is how does the comp help him exist? He's got a Gnar ultimate that can be used, but you want to still make sure they hit the wall, or you're losing a lot of damage potentially in that combo. And the Rel. So a lot of the work for Incursio probably has to be done himself.
Look, if I've got faith in one mid laner that can make it work on a champion like Yasuo, even if the odds are stacked against him, probably is going to be Incursio. We've seen him pull out some pretty crazy stuff already this season. We're only 3 weeks in, so I am excited for this game. I think, to be honest, if I had to say who my favorite player is, I think at the moment to watch, it is actually Incursio. He always brings out exciting games. And that's funny to say, because normally I do enjoy watching the supports a little bit more, which is maybe contrary to the norm. Either way, looking forward to this game, and it's a fairly critical one for both of these two teams. I'm going to say it's more critical for Legacy, I feel like, because they're in a position where they can start to turn their season around, you know? They did win yesterday. If they get 2 wins in a row, start to build up some of that momentum and start to get some of that self-belief back that this roster can actually make it through to playoffs. So if they go back-to-back, it's going to be a huge result for Legacy. And for Mammoth, if they can stop that, if they can get themselves off the bottom of the scoreboard as well, then they'll also be quite happy with the proceedings.
You know, I think if we speak in the mind of perhaps the viewers and maybe even Legacy, this is a must-win game because everyone expects Mammoth to lose most of the time, right? There's very few situations where you would look at a Mammoth game and say they should win this one, they're a favorite. Even against the team that's tied with them on the standings, you know, it does feel like Legacy are going to be favored. So coming into this game, Mammoth, I would say, always have nothing to lose. They always have everything to gain. They can prove to themselves they have their own self-belief, but I definitely think in the minds of Legacy, they would say they're favored.
Yeah, I would say so as well. Buggy just going to try and do a bit of scouting up towards the red buff, but no real commitment from Mammoth, obviously. Getting the early information as to maybe where the jungle is going to be going.
Just a ward on the red buff. Not actually going to be swapped to a sweeper by Sybil from the looks of it. Not even going to be placing a ward just yet. My eyes go to Emelg to see what he's going to do.
Not a whole lot, it seems like. So maybe now's a good time to bring Sally in, coach of Mammoth, to have a bit of a chat. And you can perhaps help us break down what to think about this matchup. First off, I guess the initial question would be, you guys are seeming to come into every game as the underdogs. Is that a position that you don't mind because it doesn't really put a whole lot of pressure on your shoulders, or what's your thoughts on that whole situation?
That's fine. There's no pressure. We just got to play fearlessly, and we're here to improve and show that we can compete with the best, even though we are an underdog.
Indeed, indeed, and hopefully you can compete with the best, already having picked up that win. Maybe get a second one today. Let's talk about the mid lane, though. Interesting matchup there, Cassiopeia and Yasuo. Was that within the realms of expectation for your draft, or was this something that was a bit of a curveball?
A little bit of a curveball, but Incursio doesn't really play range champs, and they picked very low range across the board, so Cassio really likes his comps. Thought he picked Lucian, honestly, but it's still not a great matchup. So, really happy with how it went.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it won't be too bad, at least in the mid lane. So I assume you're expecting to be able to shut down Incursio. He sort of seems to be a bit of a win condition for Legacy, at least as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, honestly, the guys looked really good. So playing to, you know, throw him off a bit is really a big thing.
Okay, we'll see whether or not you can do that. Are there any concerns surrounding Legacy's, what we've perceived fairly strong early game? Is that something you're looking to perhaps just slow down a little bit?
Yeah, I think we'll be able to scale into it quite reasonably, honestly.
Awesome. Well, we'll have to see how that one does pan out. Appreciate your time, Sally, and best of luck in the game.
Yeah, thanks. Have a good one.
No problems. You too. And Rusty. A little bit going on down in the bot lane, I saw there, but nothing ventured, nothing gained for either team so far.
Yeah, it was a really favorable level 1 trade for Legacy, actually. They cancelled Rakan's W on the engage, and you know the fact that Rel's able to hit the CC at level 1 means that she gets to exist as a champion and doesn't just instantly lose the game. Level 2 left a ward and then left again on the same level, so pretty much the next wave to gank mid though. So that buys a ridiculous amount of time for Mammoth to buy their way back into the game just because it's a 1v2 bot. And nothing eventuates from it. There was a cannon missed in mid, I'll say that much. Way will be upset about it, but realistically, Emelg just gives the space for Mammoth to allow to continue to exist in that 2v2.
Sybil definitely wanted to contest that Scuttle Crab as well. You could see him pinging his bot lane, his mid lane, trying to get them to come up. He knew he had the health advantage over Buggy, but Prio was there for Mammoth. So a small win in the early game from them, which I think is going to be important. You know, we haven't really seen Legacy come back from behind. I mean, we've very rarely seen them win, quite frankly, so I guess that is a bit of a moot point. But I just don't get the sense that if Legacy gets drastically behind, that they're going to have that strong mid-late game that's going to be able to bring them back in from a deficit.
Yeah, and there was one really important point that Coach Sally mentioned there as well, is that Legacy are fairly short-ranged, and consider that they're behind and they're playing into a Cassiopeia, Zaya, and a Gangplank. They basically just lose. So being ahead early is quite important, or at least not being behind early is the most crucial thing here for Legacy. Finding those break points and fighting around it is how they'll win this game, as Sybil has found Buggy.
Or has Buggy found Sybil? That's the question. Incursio slides over the wall just to provide a bit of presence and force the two Mammoth players back away. I mean, Sybil's still got the big Wraith, so he's not too concerned. And a bit of an engagement in mid lane. Incursio does get the knock up, but not yet level 6, so won't be able to do too much to follow up.
Yeah, it does also have Ignite in the matchup, so Incursio, as you would expect of a Yasuo, of course, is looking to win the lane, or at least have some pressure and presence. Wei, however, had the teleport, got his tier and a cloth armor. While he cannot build boots, because he is a Cassiopeia, we'll still be able to go for the plated steel caps and try and get as much armor as possible early to survive through that Yasuo lane.
Bit of backwards and forwards going on in the top lane.
Actually, I can't believe I
Yeah,
said
I was
that.
just thinking about that for a second.
Yeah, I just did a double take in my head. I was like, the zone use component, Seeker's arm guard.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, that makes sense, right? You definitely want to be looking for the armor against a Yasuo, just so that you don't hard int. And the Zhonya's is the perfect item against a Yasuo as well, so definitely going to help out quite substantially when Wei does get there.
Also,
Incursio's doing a good job of just shoving that wave in. Oh, never mind. Hang on, we'll hold that thought because there's a bit in the bot lane that's happening. Amelga's forced to jump away. But seems like everything's okay, although I do see Buggy hanging around.
Yeah, they might look at the dragon, actually. You know, the bot lane priority of Mammoth is there. This next wave that pushes in, you know, if Sybil were to, and he's not, if Sybil were to be there, they could rotate first and faster. Still trade spot.
Yeah, Kanade jumping in there as well. Amelg is on fire at the moment, but will survive. Ignite's not going to tick long enough. You can see Mammoth definitely trying to flex their muscles in that bot lane 2v2, knowing they have the strong early game.
Amelg, with like 10% HP, just physically checks if the dragon is being looked at and finds it and leaves.
Very much playing with fire, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. Doesn't
It's kind of...
Yep.
It's one of those things where it's like, it's Schrodinger's dragon, right? It either is being done or it isn't being done. But at the end of the day, does you knowing actually affect anything?
Well, let's look at top lane, because he doesn't have ultimate as Gangplank. He can't clear that wave.
And Winterer is trying to catch up. Doesn't quite land the rock. And so Incursio's going to have to do it himself. But he might well have enough. Has the Ignite down. It'll take one more Q, which does connect, and the ultimate. Last breath, but for whom Incursio might have gone a little bit too deep here, and Sybil hanging around is under pressure as well. Luckily, the lane is pushed into the top wave, so Sybil will get out okay, but Incursio may not.
Oh my god, he's going to leave.
Have I spoken too soon? Oh. No, he doesn't. So
that would have been a magic act, Elvish guy, if he was able to get out of that one. My god. Sybil barely surviving as well. We only just got a glimpse of what was happening. But Wei rotating, able to try and help as best he can. The thing that you have to consider in this is, you know, we ask the question on what does ML getting vision of the dragon mean? Well, it means that Incursio gets to roam first, right? And it actually does mean that he gets the first blood gold.
Oh, well, here goes something as well down in the bot lane. Amelg, he's stuck under tower. The feathers, they've done enough. Oh, no. It's not worked out well for Legacy at all. They were the ones looking for that engage.
Oh.
Styled! Doesn't quite get the kill from downtown.
Would have been a real shame if that one had connected for Mammoth after all the good work they've done, but we'll see another trade in mid.
Oh, it might just end up being a trade. Fancy footwork from Incursio, but maybe not enough to keep him alive here. Desperately trying to lifesteal as much as possible. It will be a 1-for-1 after Sybil arrives. Buggy should get out of here, I want to say, but maybe not. So much damage from Sybil. And Buggy had no mobility. His E was on cooldown. So in the end, it's favorable for Legacy.
Yeah, Buggy, no Ghost, no E, no mana. So definitely no way out of that one. Once the Lily has got a hold of you, she's able to lock that one down. Incursio does ultimately fall still, but very favorable for Legacy if you're looking at the jungler of the team. As we're back to top.
We are indeed. Fights all over the place. This one, I think we can say, is a bit of a foregone conclusion. Nectar out in no man's land, and ML comes up for his assist. It's always a nice feeling as a support. Just walk in lane, say thank you very much. Inflate the stats a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit of cheeky extra gold. Also takes a ward on his way out. So I'm helping is the name of the game here from ML. And he is helping. Because that basically secures the exit strategy for Nectar. There's no way out for him anymore. You can't run back to your turret. He's going to block you off. So secures the death.
All good in the Legacy camp at the moment so far. Incursio going to be looking for a little something. Has knock-up available, so Wei needs to be very careful, but dodges it quite deftly. And Winterer forced to stay on the ground, courtesy of the W from Cassiopeia. Can't jump forward.
Is well and truly weak-sided at this point in the game. We've seen no movements from Kanade or Shifrit at all. The Zion Rakan have planted their feet in bottom lane. Nectar may have to, it actually has to fully concede the turret. There's no way even using your ultimate up there is going to grant you anything. You might even want to try using the ultimate to try and help bot lane, as they're going to push Winterer away from the turret, though he is level 9. So actually quite a powerful Gnar as levels go when he's mega.
Yeah, has the ultimate available as well. So if push comes to shove, can try to use that to escape. But Legacy are really committing with this Rift Herald, and why not? When they know there's 3 players on the bot side of the map, mid is already tied up. They're continuing to chunk towers in the top lane. It's a big gold swing for Legacy. They've gone up about 2k gold now.
It definitely is a huge swing, you know, just playing the map a little bit better than their opponents so far. Looking at where they're strong, it does feel like that top difference, the complements of a couple of ganks, is severely influential. You know, the fact that they got the Herald, they instantly place it top lane because they'd rotated earlier as well. Means that they are playing the map overall just a bit faster than that of Mammoth. Looking towards what Mammoth can actually do in response here. Once they open up their map more, which they have on this reset, you know, they've brought Kanade to the team. A Hecarim and a Rakan can work brilliantly together to make picks. Not in mid lane right now, though, as there is 0 mana on Wei. Has to be somewhere else.
That's really not what you want when the Dragon's coming up in 11 seconds, but Wei does have the luxury of a teleport available. If required, can get back to the fight in a few seconds. For now, holds on to it and starts to just walk his way back in, and maybe it'll be a situation where Mammoth decide, you know what, we're better off just giving this Dragon up. Knowing Winterer has already come down, all 5 members there from Legacy on the Dragon. Nectar doesn't have teleport available, so he'll just take some plates up in top and say, I'm going to be happy with that.
Yeah, so we've got Nectar getting plates like you mentioned. That'll help a lot to catch him up. Bot lane, however, Wei is vulnerable as he has no vision control and Sybil was hovering in the area. They also have no control of River, so ML, as far as they know, is invisible. Realistically, looking at the way Mammoth are playing right now, you've got a Rakan trying to protect the Cassiopeia, definitely not looking to gank. But mid is also at risk.
Oh, Shifrit needs to be very careful. Styled even investing the Killer Instinct to try and put a bit more damage down and get himself into a closer range for further autos, but Emelg wasn't having a bar of it. I think Styled had the assumption that Emelg was going to follow up on that.
I think he was trying to WR as his combo. You know, use the ultimate while your W's flying to make sure it hits, but he RWs and the W actually goes to Narnia, finds the closet. So nothing
really.
actually there.
Yeah. Sybil is continuing to put pressure on the jungle, taking as much away as possible. Speaking of Wei, he's having I feel like he's having a rough time, you know. It's weird to say that because he's up 20 CS, but he's constantly got someone in his lane to deal with, alongside, obviously, Incursio.
Yeah.
But he's doing a pretty reasonable job.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, he's getting nothing, right? He's earning everything himself the hard way. He still managed to find himself 20-odd CS in front of his opponent. He has a kill. He's getting towards his items. You know, one of the hardest points in a game for a Cassiopeia is when you don't have boots and your opponents do, just because they can catch you out of position quite easily. That movement speed on your passive has not scaled up at all. So he's been honestly navigating the map pretty well. Way, I would say, playing to our expectations of the star player of the side of Mammoth. Nectar is the one who hasn't been respecting too much and has been getting ganked and caught constantly. And we just haven't seen any activity from the Hecarim and the Rakan together beside the one moment they placed a ward together.
Melk has been all over the map as well.
Yeah.
So he's been roaming and helping out his buddies as much as possible. Doesn't feel like Styled has needed a whole lot of assistance to just be farming safely, at least at this point in mid lane. But wherever he's been, he hasn't felt like he's been under too much threat. Incurzio is also having a pretty good time down in bot, just farming away as well, and knowing that he's a Yasuo, so inevitably he is going to become problematic later on in the game as well.
Oh yeah. Looking at 100% crit for a Yasuo. As always, of course, 2-item spike is when a Yasuo truly comes online. Like mentioned in draft, there's not a whole lot of convenient Yasuo ulting assistance. So Incurzio probably going to be doing a lot of the work himself, and has well and truly planted his feet into a side lane to get the waves, just minions farming up to get those item spikes.
A few pretty important item spikes, by the way, have been picked up here across the board. Turbo Chem Tank for Buggy, looking to go really fast. Everfrost as well for Wei, so I can imagine that being quite a deadly combination with the Petrifying Gaze, if that is pulled off.
It's relentless in bottom lane right now. You know, Sybil constantly hovering, constantly controlling this area. Nectar steals away a little bit of Krugs, but most of the gold is now on the baby Krugs, or Kruglets, I suppose I could call them. Just makes sense.
Sure.
I don't even know if that's correct.
I mean, I haven't heard it called anything else, so I'm just going to go ahead and say that sounds right to me.
Kruglets makes the most sense. You find me a better name than Kruglets and I'll concede. That goes out to all the viewers.
Yeah, maybe that's something for the fan segment. Someone can let us know if they've got a better name for the Krugs. Hashtag LCO, at LCO. Incurzio does eventually get that tower down, and all of a sudden decides it's time to put a bit more pressure onto Nectar. Had the ult available, but decides not to go for it this time.
Herald, though. This should be pretty heavily focused towards by Mammoth. In fact, it's going down incredibly quickly to the point where Legacy aren't even considering. They do have priority in that mid lane. Like you could see, they had control of the bush closest to the Herald. And Legacy actually recalling on the other side of the map, as most of their control and vision has gone towards the dragon. But in saying that, as we have yet another Cloud Soul, and that is 4 for 4 from the day, which is just absurd. It's still one dragon apiece. So ultimately, it will be a lot of time between this next dragon and a soul being secured. So you can afford to get the Herald, look at top lane farm, maybe even place the Herald up there, which seems like they are, and sacrifice a couple of dragons.
It is a bit ridiculous to get 4 from 4, isn't it?
Yeah.
Something's broken on Summoner's Rift. Either way, Legacy are going to pick this one up. I don't think that Mammoth will be too disappointed by that, though. And Wei's having a good time of shoving this wave in against Winterer. Not really a whole lot that Winterer can do about it.
You could say, statistically speaking, we haven't had... Oh, no, we have. We had yesterday. Damn it. I'm going to say 11.5, only Cloud Souls. Is the game broken? But... ah, well.
It's just every time I look in the bot lane, Sybil is there as well. So Incurzio is going to try and get aggressive. This will be a commitment this time. Incurzio forced to flash away from the tower, but Sybil will also escape, and Nectar goes down. So he's finally found his man. He's been trying. He's been hunting a lot, hasn't he, Incurzio? In the mid lane as well. Mid lane even. Magnet Storm activated, but Shifrit will get himself out safely with Featherstorm.
And then if you want to talk about item timings there for why the aggression comes across, it was the completed shield bow and a crit cloak on top of that. So 100% crit chance for the Yasuo, suddenly ignites and dives him under turret. That checks out if you ask me. And also in terms of items for a Gangplank, because he's gone for the full Essence Reaver first, didn't get the shield bow as his first item, so it's a lot easier to dive him. It's one of those things, like, to me, it is the best item build for Gangplank as Essence Reaver into shield bow, but the tragedy of the lane assignments might be that he would have preferred to have the shield bow to survive just how terrible it's been for him down there.
Yeah, you definitely do lack a little bit of survivability when that shield bow is not online. Legacy doing a good job of just pushing Mammoth out of the neutral areas of the map. It doesn't feel like Mammoth can walk into River without being a little bit afraid.
Just nothing doing though overall. You know, the fact that Shifrit was able to get that Xayah ult out reactionarily to ML denies any kind of threat that exists from the role for a little while. Resets, of course, coming across for Incursio. While they've pressured bot lane a boatload, there is still this ongoing presence that feels like, you know, the looming threat of Wei as he starts getting more and more items. He's a very dangerous Cassiopeia right now and has been farming up a storm. But I still, you know, no matter what, if I look at the scoreboard, I'm just looking at Sybil. This 3-0 Lilia is an absolute behemoth to deal with.
Yeah, those flash Qs, I dare say, are going to come into effect a bit later on. Cheeky little recall in the side bush from the Mammoth bot laners. It's going to give the opportunity for Legacy to just push the tower in. Feels like today we've been getting quite a few slower games, you know, where we haven't seen quite as many engagements early on in the piece. We haven't sort of had a foregone conclusion by 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And again, it's kind of what this one's eventuating into, which is quite contrary to a lot of Legacy's games. They're always eager for the fights early, but this time, again, with the exception really of Incursio down in bot, it has kind of just been Farm City.
Yeah, Legacy usually play quite aggressive early and then slow down as they are, like, it's the next steps that they usually falter on. They may go to sleep here.
Yeah, I was going to say the Lullaby certainly liable to come out here from Sybil. Doesn't result in too much until Sybil flashes forward. Sonya under tower, keeps him healthy. And Legacy now look to break that outer mid lane turret. Easy as you like. Another small advantage gained. And that snowball starts to get bigger and bigger.
I mean, the game right now is literally Sybil difference. He's playing exceptionally well. It was a good flash Q in his Zonias to prevent any turret aggro. The teleport from Winter as well was also as he crested over to Meganar. So the threat was even greater once he arrives. Baron being kicked off here. They do this incredibly quick, actually.
Oh, but do they do it quickly enough, Rusty? I wonder. Wei is waiting. Petrifying Gaze is going to get thrown down.
That's
no,
gone.
that was an Everfrost. Never mind. Still have the Petrifying Gaze here for Wei, so we'll see if he can utilize it now. Ulti locks them into the wall. Baron was secured by Legacy, and now Incursio looking for a little bit of Incursio diff, but it might not be the kind he wants. He's dove right into the back lines, and he'll do a bit of damage. It does open up a kill onto Wei, but in the end, a 1-for-1 trade. Doesn't matter. Legacy get away with the Baron, and that's what they want.
Yeah, that is one of those 1-for-1s that probably wasn't necessary because you had a Baron buff. If you're Mammoth, you probably do actually take that. They can also clear a wave in mid before the resets come out. Try and maybe get some fresh bases off themselves. They're going to look to hit the turret a couple times, but it may not result in anything. And at the end of the day, it is the Baron secured. It was a nice attempt by Buggy. He did get into the pit, but he had no chance, unfortunately, to steal that one away. He's 2 levels behind Sybil as well, just quietly. So, real hard to steal.
Yeah, indeed. Well, actually, he's 3 levels down now.
Oh.
At the time, he might have been 2, but it seems to be compounding upon the issues, although Buggy has just hit 12, so he's okay now. All right. As okay as you can be, 2 levels down. Dragon attempt here from Legacy. Suffice to say, it's probably not even an attempt, more so a secure.
We'll see this again. Of course, the Gangplank ultimate did do a lot of work. Legacy are very low, right? Winterer buys as much time as he can. And while he does successfully buy that time, the tragedy for Mammoth here is that there is no ultimate there for their support. You know, Kanade couldn't actually get in, couldn't flash ult lock them all down. Could have been a different story perhaps, but Buggy left on his lonesome to go for the steal, and Nah zoning was more than enough.
Yeah, very nice ultimate through from Winterer, just to keep the fellas at bay. Make life easy for Sybil. Up in the top lane, Buggy dives on top of Incursio, who is getting chunked incredibly quickly.
Melga's here.
But a Melg has arrived, and now it's a 2-on-3, at least until the reinforcements return for Mammoth, which will be too little, too late. Way, though, on Cassiopeia. Is he strong enough yet to be that big threat? Starting to run low on mana.
I mean, he's doing it.
Copying a lot of damage, but yeah, he's down out of mana really now, and so he has to get the assistance from the rest of his teammates. Good sleep through from Sybil.
No mana.
And maybe Sybil Diff is going to continue this game. He's doing damage to everyone. Kanade slowed by the Orb. And Legacy get themselves a very nice fight win. I mean, there was a moment there where you thought Mammoth might be able to turn it, but Way's so low on mana, can't just continue to pump that damage out, unfortunately.
Yeah, no blue buff, no real chance, unfortunately, to continue fighting for more than 30 seconds at a time. At the end of the day, the terror of Oceania, Sybil, when you least expect him, suddenly is 100-0, just tearing you apart. The Lilia shows up to the party, and it does prove to be quite a significant difference. But already before that, you know, they were putting in some serious work. Legacy are playing much better in the last 2 days than we've seen from them before.
Take a look back at the replay here. It wasn't a bad start to the fight, was it? But it always feels really bad when you use a lot of abilities, a lot of items to try and kill a Yasuo, and then you don't.
I think, like, looking back at this one now, the Hecarim, Fear, and E pushed him out of, I believe, one of Way's Qs on the Cassiopeia. So there was no damage amplification for the Twin Fangs that he was throwing out. And then also flashing forwards there to try and secure the kill when he didn't have enough mana, or the Q stacked up to follow it, just means that, you know, they'd really cemented their position as all in or nothing. Sybil was already going to be there. ML had the flank, so they took the gamble. They didn't have much of a choice, but they took the gamble and it backfires.
Sometimes you got to go big or go home, especially when you're at a deficit, and that's exactly what Mammoth will need right now. They need a big play from someone. I'm not sure they're going to be able to defend this turret, particularly with Way up in the top lane still, although he does have teleport available. Sybil's trying to get a bit cheeky, and Winter is pushing the bot lane.
Yeah, they're going to try and defend the bot lane inhibitor maybe. Just switches over to Mininar, so his ability to actually take it is increased, but the risk to his health bar is higher. I wouldn't be shocked to see Mammoth just concede this one, try and clear the wave, accept the reality, you know, they are so far behind. Ultimately, this is just buying space for Nectar to continue farming. And while they get a teleport top lane, Way's just farming for himself as well. You know, they're getting money in any way that they can. I think it's clear that they've acknowledged the game state.
Yeah, you got to sometimes take those small losses in the hope that they're not going to compound too much and that you are going to be able to offset that by the ability to farm in a side lane for a key player like Way,
I don't know what he's
who has now been spotted.
And he's got like 30% mana to his name. Is that the type of play that you really want to commit to? We've already seen what happens when you run The damage over time is so consistent from Legacy that you're probably just going to suffer. And they've cut him off, like beyond cut off. The W in the bush, he's dead.
Good. Well, there it is. Milk has found him. And Style decides that maybe this is going to be my kill. Petrifying Gaze keeps Way alive for another second longer. Zonya's available, but it doesn't matter. Well, they've found Sybil in mid, though, so this actually might work out for Mammoth. If it's a 1-for-1, you'll take that.
Yeah, that was 900 gold into the hands of the Zaya here as well. He's now 3-1, so you well and truly, if that is just a 1-for-1 trade, you take that. However, we are still seeing the top lane priority and Incursio moving through the jungle up there to try and push for a second tower or maybe inhibitor. Gangplank may need to ult this one to even prevent the turret from going down. Mammoth, I mean, they've got a flank.
Well, if the Gangplank ult was going to come, it needed to come now, and I think that's a bit too little too late. Mammoth, they've been engaged upon. Look at the combo. Incursio dives in off the back of the Gnar ulti, and Mammoth have been decimated. Legacy get 2 free kills. They'll be happy with that. And all of a sudden, just when you think maybe Mammoth have a chance, Legacy go one better.
And I really don't understand why they didn't Gangplank ult before the wave even crashed. You know, first of all, it's a slow, and second of all, it ramps up over time. So there's just a lot of reasons to throw it sooner rather than later. Baron now going to be taken by Legacy. Nothing doing on the side of Mammoth besides licking their wounds and limping away for those that did manage to survive. was a nice ultimate from Shifrit. Avoids Winterer going forwards on the Mega Gnar and the combo. But Wind Wall is all it takes for Incursio to deny any follow-up there into the hundreds of feathers that were placed on the ground. And Legacy, well and truly on top.
Yeah, indeed, but maybe that's about to change. Wei doesn't quite get the petrifying gaze that he was looking for, and things have turned on their heads. Wei's gone to sleep. Grenade being chased by the rest of Legacy, although he is quite slippery on that Rakan, so he'll get out okay.
Wei is tilt splitting, but he has reinforcements. So they're two-man bush camping at this stage. Not doing anything from it. Unfortunately, all that does is open the door to Legacy. So
yeah,
not feeling that strategically speaking.
It's going to be all 3 inhibitors down now for Legacy. And they just picked up the Dragon as well. So Dragon Soul goes over. It's basically the perfect scenario for Legacy. Get the quick reset off the Baron as well.
It's a good one to have as well, actually, the Cloud Soul. Movement speed just as a base level is crucial for Rel. Before she has the Dead Man's Plate completed, the more move speed you have, the better. So that'll be nice. Lilia is obviously a movement speed reliant champion. Na wants to close distances. Kai says she'll ult in and have a super movement speed boost, even while invisible when using that E. So some insane value actually here from the Cloud Soul.
It also puts Incursio's ult on a 22-second cooldown, by the way.
Yep.
So that helps too. All 3 inhibs down. Super's coming in from every single lane. Not that much pressure up on the top lane for Mammoth, but certainly the bot and mid lanes are going to be enough when all 5 Legacy players are here. And this could well be the final fight of the game if Legacy are able to execute it correctly. Winterer about to go Mega, and that'll be potentially the go signal for Legacy. Couple put to sleep. Let's see what Winterer can do. Oh, he's stunned mid-leap. Maybe Mammoth still have a chance, but Amelg is on top of so many with Magnet Storm running. And that is unfortunately looking like a little bit too much for Mammoth to defend right now. The Nexus is the focus of fire for half of the Legacy players, while the other half try to pad the stats a little bit. But Legacy walk it home. 31 minutes it's taken them, but a very comfortable victory in the end over Mammoth, and Legacy go 2-6, getting themselves off the bottom of the scoreboard at the end of the first round of Split today.
Yes, that is the first round robin completed with the last game that we just saw then. Legacy definitely looking like just the better team between the two today for sure. You know, it was map movements, it was across the board where they looked better as well. Mammoth just really not able to compete when they got onto the Rift, unfortunately, against their opponents because they had some merit in the draft. For me, the Gangplank was quite underwhelming in its use, but at the same time, there was a lot of pressure put into that lane afterwards. The Rel went up there early as well, and it did feel like, again, Sybil difference is my one takeaway from this, because I think that Sybil went off and really did make the game easier for Legacy and so much harder for Mammoth.
Maybe there's a few things for our resident jungle main to take away from that game as well. Let's get Mac back in here and see what he thinks about that Lilia performance.
Juves isn't here, Jordan.
No, I was talking about you. We don't...
No,
who's Juves anyway?
I play mid lane now, Yi and Nocturne, so...
Did you just say mid lane and then say Yi and Nocturne?
Yes, and
Oh
Nocturne
my
works
God.
okay, but Yi I haven't got to yet. Every time I hover it, my teammates ban it, so... They're like, you're not a mid lane champion. I'm like, look, just pick Tarek. It's all right.
Mac,
yes.
you're about 5 years too late for mid lane Yi, unfortunately.
Well, that's all right. I'm bringing it back. I saw a YouTube video of it working one time in a video, so that means that it always works, right? Anyway, something that did work was Legacy. Finally finding themselves a second win. Mammoth had a relatively okay early game, but then it sort of just went downhill when Legacy started the power spike and really hit those win conditions as well. Even though Cassiopeia was doing a very good job on Wei for a while, you could see that as soon as he ran out of mana up on that top lane, that was when Legacy was like, okay, go, and turned a lot of the fights around, and it just didn't go his way a lot of the time. So very unfortunate, but of course that experience that Sybil brings to the Legacy roster, obviously key in today's matchup.
Yeah, I think a lot of it was anything you can do, Buggy, I can do better, right? Like you see these movements from the Hecarim trying to make plays happen, but anytime he tries, the Lilia is there shortly after and is much more influential in the outcome of the fights that we saw. And that pretty much was from top to toe the state of this game. Styled as well, actually, someone that I think we should highlight for Legacy, because that's now 2 games in a row that he has had a very good performance overall and has actually been a positive piece of stability for the roster, which is what Legacy want from him. They want stable, but they also want good. And he's been able to really toe that line much better in the last 2 games.
I think he... Did he even die this game? I think he survived the whole damn time. So that's another little props. He might have gone down towards the end and I missed it, but he had some $600 bounty on his head and was just doing a very damn good job. I think the same can be said for Sybil. Oh, no, there you go. He did die at least once in this team fight, which was leaning towards the end. But of course, once you get that soul, once you get that Baron, it just seemed a little bit too easy for Legacy to go and get all 3 inhibs, and at that point, it's very damn hard to defend your base. But look, someone that doesn't need any defense is Nat, because she's just swinging punches left, right, and center all the time at all the players that she interviews. And who are you going to be punching in the face for the post-match today?
Oh, look, I'm not looking at taking shots at anyone today, but I am very happy to be joined by Sybil. Congratulations on what I would say is a very convincing second win. How are you guys feeling?
Pretty good. I mean, we still like have 5 losses, but that was we're looking better. So, and I don't know, pretty happy about it.
You guys are definitely looking a lot stronger. Would you put that down more towards draft, or would it be how that game played out for you guys?
I mean, the draft was better, but it was more just, I think just we're playing better. I think we're like, just more, like we're pretty calm. Like both of these games that we've won, we've not like, I don't know, we're not shitting bricks. Like we're keeping calm, and we're just like trying to focus on like what we can do rather than, I mean, in the other games, in the games we lost, it felt like as soon as one thing wasn't going perfectly, like we would kind of worry a bit. And like, despite my experience, I would say like I was still pretty nervous in the first couple games, but like these past two games, like I felt way better.
Yeah, that's so good to hear that you guys, you're able to reel it back in and sort of just focus back on the game. Talk me through a little bit more about like those rotations and the team fights that came out, especially from you. They looked absolutely amazing.
I mean, I like playing 1-3-1 a lot because it means you can play to get all the farm in all 3 lanes. And I think it's like the optimal way to play. It's the downside, or like the caveat, is that it's extremely hard to pull off. So, I mean, we've done it pretty well in the past 2 games, but I think against better teams, we're gonna probably get it'll probably be a harder game versus better teams because 1-3-1's quite punishable if they're a good team. But in terms of team fighting, like I always think that team fighting is a lot easier when you're going into it with like the right macro. Like if you start a fight not on your terms, it's a much harder one to win. So when you have the pushing lanes and you have the prior and then you move to the fight, then you've also probably got vision. It just like makes the fight a whole lot easier. So I mean, in that game that wasn't so much the case. It was more like I think I was like pretty strong, and my champ was pretty good into their champs, and a lot of my teams were like sacrificial lambs for me, like the double kill mid early. That was like my mid died for that, so I got fed off of it, and then I paid him back by like carrying a bit. But the team played really well actually, so yeah.
I mean, look, maybe that's the new strat, you just push all of the teammates under the bus and you just put them on your back when you're done.
Maybe I'll do more of that actually.
Well, look, one last question I do want to ask you. I've been asking everyone tonight is, now that we've closed out the first round robin, is there any sort of player that stands out to you that, you think is pushing you to become better just based on how they're playing?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's probably, I think Aladoric's probably one of the better players. He's probably one of the best players in LCO, because he like there are good ADCs and there are good like mid laners and stuff, but he seems to be like the only player who actually knows how to like play the map well, which in OS is pretty rare. So I mean, he's he's probably I would attribute a lot of to why Peace are doing well to him. Otherwise, I don't know. No, not. I mean, yeah, it's probably him. Yeah.
Oh, I'm sure he's going to be glad to hear that one if he watches this back. But thank you so much for joining me in the post game, and congratulations again. You guys are seeming to have found your feet.
Hooray! Thanks, Nat.
See ya.
There you go. 2 left feet for the big man Sybil, who certainly wasn't tripping over said left feet today. And look, that was very happy, all things considered. Although something I did notice that you pointed out, Rusty, is that it is and certainly was the day of the Cloud Souls. You said it was good, which is the first time I've pretty much ever heard anyone say a Cloud Souls good for a team comp.
Really?
It has its moments.
Yeah, I think Cloud Soul's actually quite underrated. It provides a lot in terms of the stats, like separate to the soul bonus.
Okay.
Where I think most people obsess with like what the soul bonus, like Infernal Soul's obvious, right? Every 3 seconds you just blast someone with fire. And people are like, that's sick. But like,
yes,
Cloud
it is
Soul's
sick.
not as obviously influential.
That's where I'm coming from. You know, there's nothing sick about, you know, moving however much faster you move with a Cloud Soul.
So you're a Master Yi Nocturne player. What do you mean?
you
There
love
is everything
this.
sick about moving fast for you.
Yeah, but I'm not. We don't see Yi here. I know it was mentioned earlier by Kuden in the interview, but I don't know if that's actually ever going to happen. But look, that brings us to play of the day, maybe not hot take of the day. And today's play of the day is coming out from Only, who managed to score a triple kill, which led into a team ace over outside the Dragon Pit here in the earlier matchup between Direwolves and Chiefs. So big congrats to Only for picking up the play of the day.
I was hoping you'd ask us to guess.
What
You
it
know,
was?
I had this one written down. I was ready to big brain it.
Oh,
Well-
yeah, like yesterday.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm a little disappointed.
Okay, well, look, I'm disappointed in myself for not asking you. I just went into it because I thought it was a good time to do so. Apparently not.
It was.
So I hope we're not all disappointed with this.
No,
It's a-
I'm not
it's a great
disappointed at
play.
all.
Well, if you're not disappointed, then what are your thoughts? Because you haven't said anything about it.
What is there to say? I mean, it's such a good sort of team fight actually from Only and the rest of his team as well. They were on the back foot. If you remember when we were casting that one, Rusty, we actually thought that they might lose that team fight, but just the constant giving space, giving room, eventually coming back into that fight slowly but surely, giving ground, was a nice little shot call from those guys. So I felt like it was a solid play indeed and definitely worthy of play of the day.
Look, so if I take a step back, if you could guess what the play of the day was, what would it be? Nat?
Oh, I would have to put it down to the ace Direwolves got. Yeah, it was the only ace we had all day. If that's not the play of the day, then I don't know what is.
Oh, well, there you go. What about you boys? Any contenders other than the one that Nat thinks is going to be play of the day?
Head empty. All I'm thinking of is dinner that I haven't had.
What? Mate, look, you've had plenty of time to eat that.
10
You know,
o'clock.
Jordan talks for years on those casts, so I feel like you could just shovel it in.
Yeah, scoff some down while we're talking. I mean, I've been there before.
Certainly have. I'll tell you somewhere else we've been before is the standings, except this time it's going to be looking a little bit different because we finally finished the first round robin of the split. So let's bring those up and see how we look at the end of today. There you have it. Pentanet still undefeated, leading the charge. Peace only with that one L to Pentanet in second. Tied third, Direwolves and Chiefs. Direwolves finally managing to climb a bit up the ladder. Order now going down to fifth after their loss today. Legacy 2 and 5, so finally starting to split away from Gravitas, and Mammoth stuck at 7th at the bottom. I guess the question at this point is there still any surprises now we're halfway through the split?
Nah. No, that's like, if you asked me at the start of the split what my power rankings were, I think this is almost it exactly.
I
Let me
think the
look.
Legacy, right? The Legacy is probably the only one that you have in a different position.
I have Direwolf second. That's the only difference.
Oh.
Yeah, no, that's legit. That's almost my power rankings from the start of the split.
There you go. What about you, Jordan? You think it's pretty on par for what you expected to see from all these teams?
Yeah, I mean, I guess so far things seem to be shaping up that way. I think the main thing to highlight about the way that the standings have shaped up at the end of today, and at the end of round one of the round robin, is that going into this week, we had Legacy in last place. We had Direwolves in 5th place. Now we've got Direwolves up into 3rd place. We've got Order dropping down into 5th. Legacy have gotten off the bottom of the ladder and are starting to potentially threaten for 5th. So a little bit going on in the middle of the pack there, and I think there's still room to move for a few of those teams. So does shape us up quite interestingly for the rest of the split.
Yeah, I'm quite interested to see where Legacy end up after the second round robin. But that's enough from us. We need to hear from you guys at home as well. So let's bring in from the fans. We've asked you to send in some questions and memes, etc. And, you know, who's the #1 fan. But it looks like we've got a question from Tag Yurit, and that is out of the broadcast team, who can do the most push-ups in 60 seconds. And then we've all been tagged. So what do you reckon? Do we have any takers for this one? Jordan, what do you reckon you got?
I reckon in a minute, I could probably do 45 push-ups.
In a minute?
So if you guys, yeah.
Wow.
If you guys reckon you can beat that, what do you reckon you guys can get?
I have tested this like 10 times in the past 6 months as a part of the course that I did.
Okay.
So I know the exact answer. So if you want to go, Mac.
I did chest yesterday, so I will do my push-ups tomorrow, so I'm at peak, you know, ready to go. Already been to the gym once today. And
Do you want a
I'll post
number to
that on
beat?
Twitter. Yeah, what's yours?
55.
55.
Okay, I definitely can't
That's
get
pretty
45
good.
then. I might have overestimated things a little bit. If you can do 55 in a minute, there's no chance I'm getting 45 in a minute. But I know I can do 30 straight, so I tried to calculate based on that. If I really just tried to smash it, could I get there? And I thought maybe I might be able to.
30
but
straight's still good, man.
I'll go back down maybe a little bit and say I could probably get 30 in a minute.
Yeah, it's a question of, I don't want to do bad form push-ups just to go for speed. So, you know, you got to
That's true.
find the balance in there. What about you, Nat? Are you a fan of push-ups?
I reckon you could give me a year and I still wouldn't be able to do a push-up.
A single one? Look, I think that's...
We did have this conversation last night. I
Yeah.
do struggle. You know, unfortunately, we don't do push-ups in Pilates, so...
The thing is that it doesn't take a whole year to learn to do one push-up. You can build body strength much faster than that, Nat. And we all believe in you. I reckon you can do it if you put a little bit of work in the gym. Now,
Maybe by the time playoffs come around, we'll get one.
All right. Well, instead of let's move away from the pectorials. Let's move into the braintorials and have a look at this next meme, which is the Chiefs putting us on blast here. So I actually don't mind that look on myself or you, Jordan. That's a nice schnoz you've got growing.
I mean, you know what's funny about it is they haven't even edited our pictures, Mac. So I think we look fantastic. Obviously, they've done a pretty good job of making a joke out of Rusty and Nat having big 5 heads. But
Look like a light bulb.
yeah, you do. I wonder
really
what kind of
off-putting.
light that would make, though. It would be a bit of a weird sort of shadow everywhere, wouldn't it?
There you go. So
Just Rusty's face on the wall.
what do you guys put in those
That'd be
noggins?
terrifying. Wrinkles.
Wrinkles.
Just wrinkles and layers of braid, mate. What else? That's how we knew the prediction was going to be correct.
Oh, of course
Yeah.
you did. Yeah.
Unfortunately, not a lot of league knowledge.
Well, look, hopefully that will be filled with league knowledge as we continue to bring you the LCO. Now, moving on to the third and final tweet, which we've managed to bring from the fans. It looks like this one's from Evie. So Snowy__bunny. If PGG don't win against Order Army, I'm shaving my head and becoming a monk next week.
Oh,
You lucky.
Good luck. Wow. That's a
Yeah.
big call. Especially, that's a lot of hair to lose. It was so hard to draw on my forehead. Surely I get an A for effort. Does anyone want to give her an A?
Sure. I'm going to say I reckon she was feeling pretty worried about 10 minutes into that game.
Well, you know, fortunately you can delete tweets, and we managed to get a hold of it before she did. But fortunately for Snowy Bunny, she didn't have to delete the tweet or shave her head. So small victories all around. And if you guys want to get involved with From the Fans at LCO, hashtag LCO, throw your questions up on Twitter because we're here to answer them. We love you guys, I guess, helping us not only make content, but allowing us to answer your questions. And, you know, you guys can have some insight into our lives or into our opinions on whatever topic it may be, you know, how Hawaiian is Rusty's shirt and why I'm not wearing the Hawaiian stuff today. You know, many questions that can be answered, all if you at and hashtag LCO on Twitter. Just send your questions in and they'll be on the show on Friday, surely. Now, that brings us one step closer to the end of the show. But before we get there, we, of course, have Friday coming up. So let's have a quick look at what matches will be coming up on Friday. To kick things off, you've got Mammoth and Pentanet going head-to-head again, 7 p.m. Chiefs and Legacy. Let's see if there's a bit of revenge maybe on the cards.
The run is on.
That's it. You know, they need to really get back into their groove if they're going to be able to make finals at this point. Gravitas and Order, there's, you know, potential upset if Order don't play their A game. And Peace and Direwolves, yet another one where if Direwolves are finding their feet, could be something to behold.
I think it's a banger.
Yeah, I think so. Few games there that are quite interesting for me. I definitely would be focusing on Legacy and Chiefs and Peace and Direwolves. You know, those are the two sort of swing matches, or at least what feel like they could potentially be swing matches. Granted, there is Order sitting in between Legacy and Chiefs, but if Legacy can get that win over Chiefs, then that again just continues to throw the middle of the pack into turmoil. So that's a pretty important game in my mind.
Well, that's it. So 7 remaining matches and it's going to be a banger. So round 2 about to start. Ding, ding, ding. I don't have a... Let's go with this. I don't... Does that ring a bell? Like...
That doesn't make any noise.
No
Didn't
noise at all.
Oh,
Hear
here
that?
We'll pretend.
Zero.
Yeah, it was
There
good.
we are. Look, almost. Anyway, a little bit better. Round 2, ding, ding, ding. Fists up. Round 2's coming up shortly, starting on Friday. So I guess we'll see you then. Stay safe until then. We'll see you later.
Opportunity for Chiefs. Lift dives deep into the back lines. Gun Crab the focus down early, and now Claire starting to drop HP. Swaith, however, also will fall. And at the moment, it's really hard to say which way this is going, but Direwolves starting to bring it back, and Boma has run out of mana and only full HP, chasing them down. It has just turned back on its head. It looked like a good start for Chiefs, but maybe they just stuck around a bit too long. Now Chaz forced to ulti back, but Isaiah is there. This works out for Gravitas, and here comes a snowball right on top of Seraphine. Might have been better placed on Pabu, but it looks like they'll get that kill.
Fighting 80 carry right now for sure.
Oh, Chaz is just going to go straight in there on his own, feeling confident. There is no one nearby. Surely he doesn't get away with this, but it seems like he might. Gets the 1v1 kill on the Sapphire in what was actually a 1v3. Piglet tries to come help.
You know, the Baron has been started. It's at half health already, but Appy's nearby.
Oh my word! What just happened? What just happened to Vengeance? Oh, this could still turn back on its head if Puma can survive, if he can kite back, which he's doing a good job of so far. But eventually, Kevy runs him down, gets the prize kill, Maximize now on the back. And so far, no one going down. Oh, maybe Affy dies? Oh, what is that? Violet chunking through so much HP. And all of a sudden, it looks like the game might just be Connect and the ultimate. Last breath, but for whom? Incursio might have gone a little bit too deep here, and Sybil hanging around is under pressure as well. Luckily, the lane is pushed into the top wave, so Sybil will get out okay, but Incursio may not.
Oh my god, he's gonna live.
Have I spoken too soon? No. He doesn't. It's too little too late. Mammoth! They've been engaged upon. Look at the combo. Incursio dives in off the back of the Gnar ulti. And Mammoth have been decimated.